Please welcome to the stage Tony Milikin, Maisie Devine, and Ashish Gadnis in conversation with Marcos Neto.
Hey, Maisie.
Okay.
Hey everybody, how are you? We've harvested the sun, we've harvested hops and had beer, so maybe later we can all have a beer. But let me get going here. Tony, we've heard a lot, and you heard Ulrika mention earlier that we are starting the decade of action to drive the SDGs to the end. We know very well that while progress has happened, we're not there, right? The panel of experts, Secretary General has put forward, has told us that we are not there. It's clear that we need all hands on deck. So what is the role of business in delivering the SDGs?
Business is key. And why I'll say it's key is this, is that when you think about businesses like ours, anheuser-busch InBev, we've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of suppliers. Consumers, 1 in every 4 beers in the world consumed by our consumers. We have NGO partnerships, and then if you really think about it, the whole government relationships. Why? We're in the top 5 or 10 taxpayers in each one of the regions around the world. So you kind of look at that part. But then you look at Anheuser-Busch InBev again, and you say, wow, who is that, right? And that's Budweiser, that's Corona, that's Stella. It's just for everybody just to kind of get an idea of who we are. And you start thinking about it, the real purest form of our business is around sustainability. So I've had 180,000 colleagues around the world that will tell you sustainability is our business. So let me just kind of outline why. If you look at beer and its central, easiest ways of breaking it down, the liquid or the beer is all natural. I mean, if you think of it as water, yeast, hops, barley, coming from this Earth's capital, you know. And then you think about our packaging. I mean, aluminum cans coming right from the core of the Earth. You think about our bottles, sand. I mean, that's really what it is. And then you think about our packaging, it's paper, all right? And that's coming from trees and water. And some people, I don't want you walking out of here thinking that we're absent of plastic. We do have plastic, but it's less than 5% of our business. So when you look at it, sustainability is our business, and we're trying to get rid of plastic the best we can. But let's kind of play this further. Businesses are key, but I just outlined a $60 billion company, spends $35 billion with our suppliers. And think about this, we're just so small. I mean, we're a big company, but we're small in this whole ecosystem. And so we know we can't do it by ourselves. And so as you play this forward, you think about UN. You and I talk about the UN all the time. UN estimates $7 to $10 trillion to close the gap on SDGs. We want to be a part of the solutions. And so that's why I get credit for it, but this young lady right here is the brains behind the 100+ Accelerator. And I'll let her talk about that after a little while. But once we get into why it's so important, businesses coming up with such a unique idea, taking the smartest people around the world, entrepreneurs, scientists, and asking them to help solve the SDG problems. So.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Tony. Ashish, you are one of the companies that are part of the acceleration process. You are in that intersection between technology and development. You know, what are the greatest opportunities that you see for us to accelerate the whole SDGs in this decade of action that comes?
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, everybody. So let me just quickly tell you why BenQ, right? Because that'll kind of answer that in a different way. So in 2014, I found myself in the Congo. I was volunteering and in the middle of a fight where a mama farmer was refused a bank account because she was a great farmer for cassava, barley, and corn. She had multiple UN identity cards. She had multiple microfinance loans, but the local bank refused to bank her because she could not prove her existence in the global supply chain of large brands. And at the end of the fight, the bank guy said, I can't bank her, but I'll bank you. So that's where the name comes from. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I think what hit me really hard was there were 2 major flaws in the global supply chain, which are the intersection of gender inequality, women farmers were not treated equally, and extreme poverty. And that's when we started BenQ with the idea that if mama farmers, and men farmers too, but primarily mama farmers, are visible in the global supply chain of the Anheuser-Busch's of the world, and they can prove their existence, they will not only be getting a digital identity, but an economic passport. So that's kind of where we started. And then when we got involved with the Accelerator, we'll talk about a very live use case, a success story of thousands of farmers in Uganda, where we've now proven that it's beyond a pilot, beyond a proof of concept, it's every day. So we'll get into it in much more detail, but I want to give you the context. Hope that helps.
So, thank you. Nice name there. Maisie, you are the brain, Tony said, right? There are hundreds of accelerators in the world. You know, I have a growing networks of incubators and accelerators for business at the United Nations Development Program. Maybe by the end of this conversation we can partner.
Partnerships for the goals.
Absolutely, Goal 17, right? But what does it make different? The accelerator, the 100 plus accelerator that you lead, what is the difference here?
So I started at AB InBev on the corporate venture capital team, ZX Ventures, and our most successful investments were supply chain companies that we could then pipe into our business, the core business, and we could scale them rapidly. We could be the biggest customer that these companies ever have. And going into the delivery decade, I thought, what can we provide as a company that all of these other accelerators can't? And that's what it was. We could be the biggest customer they could ever have, and we could implement them right away, and if the solution worked, we could scale them immediately, globally. And so that's how we set up the program. We had over 600 applications from all over the world because we had colleagues who were able to get that message out and ask the entrepreneurs in their network to apply. We chose 21 of those companies to participate, including BenQ. And that's what we did. We put them into our supply chain. We piloted them right away and to see whether they could make a difference for us and whether they were the right solution, and then get ready to scale them. And for BenQ, it's worked incredibly well. We have now touched over 4,000 farmers. We have onboarded onto the BenQ platform in Uganda, Zambia, India, and then we're looking at a bunch of other countries already. And so that's just one example, though, Marcos, of all 21 companies who have been able to come in and really prove their model so we can get them to scale.
So tell the story. What is the excitement on this partnership?
Absolutely. So I think I always like to anchor it in a live use case. So no PowerPoint, no white papers, just real people, real life. So Maisie and I...
We're the UN. We write papers.
Oh, sorry to break the UN heart here, but no white paper from me today. But I want to anchor the story in real world, right? So this Esther farmer, and you can look her up. It's live information. So Maisie and I found myself in the middle of nowhere on Mount Elgin back in January of this year. And the backdrop to Esther, the farmer, was up until then when she came to sell her barley. So I'm going to use this model here, right? Esther, I'm the broker, he's the brewery. She would come sell the barley to the broker, then he would sell it to the brewery, correct? In this example, there's a good chance Esther, the mama farmer, can be cheated on the weight, the quality, the price, right? And what's most important is every time she sells a bag of barley, she continues to be invisible, right? And when we saw this problem, we said, how do we solve this using technology? So what we did was we deployed BenQ, which is a simple software as a service platform that works like you access Netflix. The big difference is that when the mama farmer comes to now drop the bag of barley, she just gets a simple SMS message. She does not need a smartphone. Women farmers are extremely smart. Women are smarter than men. Okay, good. Thank you. And she gets an SMS message that guarantees the payment, the quality, and the quantity. And we use a technology called blockchain without cryptocurrency. So she now is a permanent record because from now on, she is 100% visible. And she can either cash out or she can get direct deposit on a mobile money account just to her account, which means no man can ever steal her money away. Because we live this every day, so Maisie, please.
And it was interesting when we went to roll out the platform in Uganda, and Ashish stood up, and there were probably 150 farmers there, and a bunch of people raised their hand and said, well, I like to send my daughter, my sister, my wife, my mother to sell my barley, and I'll send her with my phone, and then I'll just get the money to my phone. And we said, no, that's not how it's going to work. Each individual person who is bringing the barley has to have their own account with their own ID card. So we are basically mandating within the supply chain that the woman who brings the barley is going to get the money, not some residual person. So I will say it didn't go over well, but this is another good part about business mandating. So we're putting this into place regardless of whether it's the socially acceptable practice at the time. So.
And I just wanted to add, right, this is the long story really, that you have to think forward 15, 20 years, right? These are not like, program that ends and then we're resetting these lives, right? And I do want to stress that, because this mother farmer today, beyond her traceability in this ecosystem, it has opened the door for her, because now she can be bankable, right? She now can say, hey, I exist in this supply chain and nobody can take my right away. So I can pay for school fees. I can pay for my solar home system, which is really what we want to do, right? That's the holy grail around digital financing, to bring people along, not just to pump more aid into them. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and talk about the Zambia example with the cashing out.
Oh, no.
Yes, please.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no.
He wanted to come in.
I'm enjoying this because it's real. All right, and I mean, it started, you were talking about Uganda. When I've been in the Highlands multiple times, those farmers actually bring in their bags of barley on a motorcycle, and when they come in, it's in an armed area, right? It's secured by razor wire fencing and all this, and we weigh it and we pay them a chit, and then they walk over to the armored car, the bank, with multiple guys with AK-47s, right? And then we pay them, and then they get on their motorcycle and they leave, and they got hundreds of people in the village watching them leave. Now everybody knows they're leaving with money. And when that sun goes down at night, they're at risk. This eliminates the risk, and that's huge. So,
one of the more interesting also things, just to add to that, in Zambia we found when we started this back in June of 2018, so over a year now, was that the mama farmers actually decided not to cash out 100%.
Yeah.
That's intelligence right there. The guys all cashed out. Not a slam on the guys, but it's kind of the very basic instinct, right? Where now, we're integrated with mobile money like MTN and Airtel. And again, I keep reminding people, this is not a smartphone. I've never mentioned blockchain. I've never mentioned BankQ, because they understand SMS message. And I've never met a farmer in the last 6 years who has said, please don't tell me the price. Please don't tell me the quality. And please don't tell me what I've sold in the past, right? Because this history matters, right? And what we saw that the mothers were always keeping a little bit money, because there are a lot of technologies through MTN where now just through a basic SMS phone, you can get interest-bearing savings account. So they're thinking for the future, right? And that's kind of where we believe that the Accelerator and BankQ have been able to do something that most companies don't.
Absolutely.
So, as we move into this decade of action for the SDGs, we at the United Nations Development Program are trying to exactly figure out how do we bring in the private, the public capital, the ingenuity, the capacity to scale. Lots of you guys are using your phones to film us. 11 years ago, this didn't exist. That is the power of the business, scale, right? So in 10 years, 2030 has arrived.
Yeah.
Very quickly, the clock is going down here. What happened?
Oh, I can tell you what's going to happen.
What do you want to see happen?
No.
What are you going to
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You see this 100 plus. It doesn't say anything about anheuser-busch InBev. It doesn't. And it's purposely done. It's about the next 100 years. It's about the next 100 plus challenges that this company, and along with this ecosystem of other companies, have to solve. I mean, if we look for the governments to solve it, it's not going to happen. You and I both know that. But if you put us in the thing, and then you add on to these other FMCGs or these other monster companies, we're waiting. We built it for people to come. We built it to make sure that we can start it, but we have no selfish needs in this. Okay? I mean, there's no marketing behind it or anything. It doesn't say Anheuser-Busch InBev. I can't wait. I'm purposely we're waiting for these people to come, and I can't wait.
So, I mean,
I'm telling you, 10 years from now, this is going to be a monster.
I mean, I have a network of accelerators. We want to join up with you guys. You know, we want to bring you to the Digital Finance Task Force at Secretary General that Achim Steiner mentioned earlier in that sense. This thing is very flashy now.
Oh, yeah.
He's saying we are over here. But one last word from the two of you here.
I think just urgency, implementation, scale to make impact. That's what we're trying to do with this program.
I want to see 100,000 Maisies in every country.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Round of applause for them.